Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ferdy, or should I say Ferdy's fine, or Pastor Nichols, and greetings to all of you. Thank you. Thank you, Marcia, for inviting me, and this is a lovely evening. I, of course, normally when I'm at a lectern with a microphone, it's political in nature. But of course, this is not, or rather, let me rephrase that. This is not a partisan platform. Oh, it is very political indeed. Can't get more political than this. I mean, after all, I looking at Caswell Franklin. You can't have a bigger politician than him. But it is not partisan. So I am not here in my capacity, of which you probably are most familiar. I'm here as a believer in Barbados, hence a patriot, a believer in Christ as a Christian. And therefore, there are just a few things I need to do. Well, a couple of things I have to say, and a few things I would like to say. But because I know our time is limited, I'll start with what I have to say, and then maybe get into some of the things I want to say that I think are quite important. I have to salute the entire effort of this team, the People's Parliament, and of course the wonderful work they're doing online. It is extremely important. A democracy is enriched when you have people outside of the pure political sphere who, out of a love for Barbados, are prepared to advance those causes that are important. And they're not doing it lightly. When you listen to Marcia, when you listen to Kimar, when you listen to Maxine, when you listen to Caswell, they've done their work. They've read, they've researched, they've done a lot of thinking, and they present to edify and educate. And that is extremely important work. And again, I thank you for the invitation. And I think it's going beyond an opportunity to speak here at the lovely Hastings Rocks. I am taking it as we embarking on a relationship. And I am not taking it lightly either. I already told Ferdy that we can have you somewhere in that St. Michael South Central area. And I know funds are a little tight. I can pass the hat too, and we can make sure that we can have you somewhere out there, because this is important. As I say, this is necessary. And it is particularly important when we consider what is going on in Barbados. We have a government that is simply obsessed with what looks right and what sounds right. It's all about PR. And you know, Reverend Joseph Adderley, he put down a gem of a presentation tonight. I always remember, I understand he's still here somewhere in the background, and I want to say greetings to him, my former parliamentary colleague. When I first started, we were parliamentarians together. But I remember him telling me something that always lived with me. In fact, I researched it and it's true. Rat poison. 98% of what is in rat poison is actually the same thing that attracts rats, scraps, and so on. It is the 2% in rat poison that kills them, you know. You have to be very careful with the messaging. You have to cut through the PR clutter. That is what you have to do. And indeed, in an environment like this where there's so much voter apathy, hardly anybody voted the last election. It was worse last election, the one before that, when the government was changed. A lot of people simply did not vote. And again, I am a member of a political party, and I will say from this platform, if you're serious about reaching out to those who are disenchanted and disheartened, you better get close to groups like this, because they can speak to them in a way that neither of the two political parties can. Is it by chance right now more people are tuning in online to listen to me and you and all of you here than any official party function? You know, any DLP and the BLP streaming, they don't get the numbers that Marcy Weeks gets, you know. And what does that tell you? It tells you that you're tuning in to the very soul of Barbados. And so I say that you are ideally suited to cut through the clutter. Pastor Nichols, he said he prefers to be called Ferdy. You know he's a bit of a songbird. And there's a song that used to talk about, I dare not listen to the sweetest frame, but wholly lean on Jesus' name. So you have to not allow the sweet frame to get to you, but you have to be prepared again to cut through all of it and to listen to the people who are working on your behalf. And I am really excited about this alliance that you're building with the leader of the opposition, particularly in his capacity as the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. He got a lot of work to do in that regard. A lot of things need to be looked at. I remember telling him about the disaster that they call Hope Inc. And of course the Chinese houses. I didn't even remember to mention on this issue of housing. What about the prefab houses from Suriname and Guyana? You know, have you heard anything about it lately? What is it about housing that seems to be a problem with this government? And you know, when I had an opportunity to be part of a government after a year, we housed 500-600 houses in Barbados. How much have they done in 7 years? About 30. And they're basically, what do you call it, a photovoltaic farm, telling people they're going to live underneath the photovoltaic panels on top of that's a housing solution. But that's another thing. Again, I'm not here to be a partisan, and what I speak, the spirit in which I'm speaking in is very much that of a patriot. I'm highlighting these issues not as a part of any vote-getting exercise per se. There will be a time for that and a place for that. This is about edifying, educating, and empowering people and not allowing the noise to get to you. Something very current, you know, and I've listened to Sister Corbin talk about all of the various promises around this World Cup and the money that was spent. You know what's really ironic? You know, we hosted this very same event in 2010. Barbados had the T20 World Cup final in 2010. And yes, we had some arrivals, and yes, we had some activity. Blakey's ain't looking no different than they're looking now. What's all the hullabaloo about? But this government seems to take these opportunities of these events to simply splash money, or should I say hose money all over the place. And that's all that $5 million was about, thing, Sister Corbin. And it's as simple as that, an excuse to spend money. And we don't know what they spent $50 million. I remember very well in 2010 when through BTI we had a repaint. They gave us some paint and things to dress up the place. I'm not saying you don't do a few things to prepare for an international event, but we've been having international cricket in Barbados since 1930, I believe it is, almost 100 years. Let's get too carried away. Do what we have to do and execute. And I sincerely hope that all goes well. I understand the people have left now, they're coming back for the Super 8s. And we sincerely hope it works out well, but there's no need to get on like if this is something we're doing for the first time and use it as an excuse to go out there and, frankly speaking, try to buy people and buy votes. $50 million on Kensington, where? I'm happy what's going on in Hastings, but as I said, you bypass so many urban communities in order to get at Hastings because you vexed with Ralph Lauren. That doesn't make any sense to me. But the real reason that this gathering is so important, and all of you who are online, is the simple reality that the quality of life in Barbados is in serious and precipitous decline, and it has to be arrested. And indeed, the speaker that said earlier that political parties have to change their approach, they really touched a chord in my own heart, because as I look at my political party, with all of its achievements and all of its challenges, we certainly have to change and embrace and prepare ourselves for the task that lie ahead. And one of the important elements, I alluded to this earlier, but I'm going to speak to detail, is that if you are serious about forming a government, and a serious government in the future and in the not too distant future, you better embrace all of the elements out there that have something to offer, not only in opposition to the current government, but meaningful alternatives that you can embrace. It was done before. In 2008, we had to embrace all of those elements out there that were against the government. It happened in 1986 and 1961 with Errol Barrow. The history of the Democratic Labour Party forming these alliances is sound. And indeed, if the party is serious, as I know that it is, this sort of building these bridges, they are important. And you build them well aware that these are forces that when you come into government may very well be critical of what you're doing, but in a constructive way. And you have to have the maturity to take it on board in order that you can embrace it in the national interest. And that is why I had to accept this invitation as well. Apart from my own personal reasons, it is important that the party sends the right signal. We are with you and you are with us, and we are together on this course to get Barbados back on track. It is as simple as that. The bell ring. Thank you. Kemar really said all that needed to be said in that regard. We could have gone to the IMF a long time ago, you know. But we resisted it for a reason. We got criticized for it. A lot of these private sector interests and so on, all of them gone silent now, of course. You can't get a peep out of them. They loved Barbados so much, and the government was so terrible, and now you can't hear nothing out of them. But that's why this grouping is also so important. So keep passing the hat and keep the work going. Keep the online effort going, because somebody got to do it. Because all of them groupings that were so vocal, so visible, what happened to them now? You know, they were. It is brazen hypocrisy. That's what it is. And simply pursuing self-interest. And we can't build a country like that. That's why it's so important. But the truth is, Kemar and all of you out there who look at this debt situation, the only real sustainable way out of it is to start to earn. We got to start to earn. We have to build out our capacity for those sectors that are earning, foreign exchange earning. And I will tell you straight up, I am not detecting any sincere plan to really get us out of this situation here. I keep hearing about the loans. A new loan here, a new loan there. But I'm not hearing about the plans to expand and earn. I'm not hearing that. And honestly, I don't even know if Sherlock Holmes could detect what the plan is. You need, I'm being very serious on this point because, you know, we have grandparents in Barbados who are encouraging their grandchildren to leave Barbados because there's no future. That was never the case before. You would tell your child or your grandchild, go away and study and come back. But now you're saying, listen, there's nothing here for you and we don't really know, and I don't know how you can handle paying back all that debt that this woman borrowing, so try and make your life someplace else. And that is the surest way to underdevelop a country. You see this thing called the brain drain? It has destroyed some of our neighbors. That's right. And we need to guard against that by making sure we can provide meaningful livelihoods for our young people who are highly frustrated when they look around and don't see any hope for the future. I'm only going to say as well that continue the fight for your ability to use the new media, the social media and the things. I'm not a big social media person, but I understand it has democratized the whole question of the media. Once upon a time, you had to sit down and wait on the wire service to provide information for you. Those days, people don't even, they probably got people in here who don't even know what a wire service is. If you talk about Reuters or UPI, they don't know what you're talking about. Now, everybody, once you got one, these are a correspondent now. So things have changed, and this government, again, being disingenuous, they made a meal out of it when they're in opposition. Oh, Lord have mercy. I can tell you, the only thing they didn't say about us is that we were red and had two horns coming out the top of our head. They said everything imaginable about the then government and its leadership. But what they've come to learn, social media, a lovely sword, but it ain't such a good shield though. And they're holding a lot of hand. And so what they're trying to do, legislate it out of existence, the criticism. But it ain't going nowhere. This will continue. I'm happy to be a part of it. I want to thank you profusely for having me. And as I say, I want to reciprocate. I'll have you also attend my St. Michael South Central family. We'll host you. And again, we will find a few dollar bills to put in a sack and pay for the system, and we'll have you on board. So once again, I thank you for having me, and I will return in my outroduction to where I was on my introduction, and that is to salute the wonderful work of the team behind all of this effort, and everybody online that is enriching this exercise, providing comments and providing support and encouragement. I want to salute you as well. You are doing a remarkable job for this country, and it will not go in vain. We will be the better for it in the long run. Once again, thank you very much, and God bless.